This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. We said that this one would be weird. I feared that this one would be weird. Maybe in my mind, I thought, hey, I could reverse the weirdness by calling it out that it would be weird. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. We got the weird today. This game was weird. You got what I don't even know if I can qualify it as a weird performance from your defense because they've done this before. Offensively, most of the game, I didn't feel like the offense was the problem, and that might be weird in itself. But let's go through it, right? If there's one through line to describe what happened today for the Cleveland Browns, if there's one phrase that will describe what happened today with the Cleveland Browns or accurately describe how this game went, it's missed. I wanted to add something into this video because what is frustrating to me and what is most concerning to me is that it seems like this team has forgotten how to win. This was a team last year that would find ways to win with PJ Walker was at quarterback, or would find ways to win when DTR was at quarterback, and then Deshaun Watson, they won games with him, and then obviously Joe Flacco, they won games with him. Like the through line through all those quarterbacks was a team that knew how to seize opportunities and find ways to win, even when it wasn't easy. And what I've seen through the first 4 weeks of the season is a team that is almost allergic to capitalizing on those opportunities that they did last year. I really thought that they made a huge change last year, a huge cultural change, being able to capitalize on those moments. And right now, it's the exact opposite. And that is probably the most disappointing thing of the season to see, is that ability to win that they had last year, that ability to know when they needed to do something to win, it's not there. Instead, we're not snapping the ball correctly. Instead, we're not capitalizing on all of our opportunities. Instead, we're just making things more difficult than they have to be in order to win games. And I think that's the most heartbreaking thing about this start for the Cleveland Browns is that, right? Like this team last year that really would dig up ways to win games can't have one land right in its hands without trying to find a way to fuck it up. And I think that is the most disappointing thing to me. There were so many missed opportunities for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns capitalized on all the missed opportunities. This game wasn't even going to be close, but missed opportunities abundant. I thought the offense had some missed opportunities in a lot different ways than the defense did. And we'll start with the defense because, look, there's going to be a lot of people who, after a loss, want to blame a loss on the specific thing that they came into the game wanting to blame a loss on, right? You're going to find people after this game who are going to blame this game on Watson. You're going to find people who blame this game on Stefanski because they want Stefanski out. You're going to find people who want to blame this game on whatever person they want to blame for this game, right? Like people are going to point fingers. But I just need to point out, it's not ever just one reason that you lose a game. There's always a ton of reasons that add into it. Sometimes some people are proposing a lot more issues, or they're making these issues much larger. Sometimes all of these little small issues build up into one gigantic loss here. And I think this game is more of that variety. I think the Browns made a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball that led to them losing this game that they really shouldn't have been making, right? And they've been made by multiple different players. Defensively, when I talk about missed opportunities for the defense, I'm talking about all the missed tackles in this game. The Browns had so many missed tackles in this game. It was ridiculous. Like, I don't know what Alexander Madison and Zamir White turned into trying to stop Derrick Henry in his prime times too. It felt like it for 3 quarters. It was that difficult for the Browns defense to do anything against those two guys. And let me remind you that the Raiders came into this game with one of the worst rushing attacks in all of football. They're an awful run team. They're not even a good passing team. They came into this game considering to bench their quarterback, Gardner Minshew, and they were able to score on you an uncomfortable amount of times with ease here, right? Like, that's the concern. It's not just that the Raiders got to 20 points. It's that the Raiders got to 20 points with relative ease. They scored on 1, 2, 3 possessions. All those possessions started from the 20-yard line. You're talking about a Browns defense last year that didn't let 10 teams score in situations like that. You let 3 drives go up in this one game. It's bad. It's a horrible regression from what you were doing last year. And something's just off with this defense. I don't know what specifically it is. I've heard a lot of simple solutions for why the defense is off. I'm not convinced by any of those simple solutions, but something is off with this team. It seems like they only really turn it up and start to resemble the defense they were last year late in games when the game is like on the balance, but in the first quarter or second quarters of these games, they've been really lackadaisical. I can't really explain what is going on with the defense. I don't think it's something tangible. I think something intangible is going on with that defense that's creating these less than stellar starts for it, because this was the defense last year that their specialty was how fast they can start. So defensively, if I had to charge up what unit played the worst in this game, it would be defense. I think they were the worst thing in this game. Offensively, look, Deshaun Watson was fine in this game. He was not bad in this game at all. I would not characterize him as bad. His one interception, 100% absolutely not his fault. He was 24 of 32, 176, still dinking and dunking quite a bit in this offense, now really stretching it downfield. But I understand that's what the NFL kind of forces you to do nowadays. So it is what it is with that. I don't think Watson played horrible in this game. I thought he did a good job actually running the ball too. The run stats aren't as gaudy as you would think they are from watching it. It's 8 carries, 32 yards, no touchdowns. But every single one of those 32 yards was very useful for this Browns offense. Like, I have really not that many issues with how Deshaun Watson played. I thought he missed a couple things on the last drive, and maybe he wasn't playing super stellar in that fourth quarter, but the first 3 quarters I thought he played, I would even say, good in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, it dipped down a little bit. He made a couple of mistakes there, but honestly, he's not the player that made the bulk of the mistakes that put the Browns in that situation to even begin with, right? There are times where Watson is making these mistakes and they compound into worse things for the team, like in New York and Dallas. This wasn't one of those weeks for Deshaun. I thought he did a good job of capitalizing on most of the opportunities that were given to him, but there were a ton of bad missed opportunities for this team. We could start with the dropped interception, the interception that went off of Amari Cooper's chest. This is a good ball by Deshaun Watson. It was thrown at the proper time. It was thrown with the proper speed. Amari Cooper gets it right on his chest, and it pops off of him. Can't happen. Got to catch that. That flips the game, right? That turns it from the Browns having the ball on the 30-yard line in field goal range, at least able to get 3 points, and it flips it to a interception going the other way that eventually turned into a Las Vegas Raiders touchdown. Again, defensively, you would have liked the team to hold up a little bit better than that, but still, big issue there, right? Can't have that drop. So that's on Amari Cooper. The other one was Nick Harris. I think the other two were on Nick Harris. Nick Harris gets a hold on what was like a 75-yard throw to Amari Cooper for a touchdown. Would have been a huge play. Would have put the Browns ahead. It probably would have won the game for the Cleveland Browns if it was completed. Well, not if it was completed, if it was able to stand, but unfortunately, Nick Harris. And look, it was a really tight holding call that they called on him. Like, it was technically holding by the letter of the law, and they called it. And it's unfortunate that that's the one that gets called there. But it got called. It was Nick Harris who did it. He did, in fact, hold him just barely, but he did hold him with the off arm there. And it negated what was a go-ahead touchdown to Amari Cooper that I truly do believe would have won the game for the Cleveland Browns in the long run, right? That's another huge missed opportunity. And look, I thought in that last drive after the Jerome Ford run, because Jerome Ford got a massive run here to put you right back in the game, in scoring range with less than 2 minutes to go. He did a great job running the ball, getting you in the range. It was a tremendous run by Jerome Ford. Unfortunately, you missed a couple of opportunities after that. Now, did Deshaun Watson miss Jordan Atkins on that last play? I believe so. I think it was cover 2. It was a safety. People are going to argue with me about it, but it was a corner route. That's when you throw the corner route, and it's better than taking a sack there, right? But honestly, him missing that read and not making that throw is not the main issue, because you ruined your momentum on that drive by Nick Harris snapping the ball too early and creating a 2nd and 16 when he didn't need to create a 2nd and 16. See, the Browns should have never been in that situation to begin with. They should have never had to convert back from a 2nd and 16 to go for it on 4th down when they were already within 10 yards of scoring. That situation should have never happened. So yeah, while I think Watson could have probably executed better to bail the Browns out of that situation, and we can make the argument because Watson is paid a lot that he should be able to bail the team out of that situation. And I think that those arguments are fair enough on the surface, but to me, I just don't think Watson is like, he's not been that good. He's not been that good since he's been in Cleveland. I can't expect him to be that good. I can't expect Nick Harris to snap the ball to Deshaun Watson to give everybody a fair enough chance to score the go-ahead touchdown when you're in range to do it. So, yeah, should Watson have made that throw? I think so, but we really shouldn't have been in position to do it. That really should have been we can run the ball with Deontay Foreman, and we could run this with Jerome Ford, run this in, turn the clock down, and not even have to worry about throwing it after we got that big-ass run from Jerome Ford. But unfortunately, you get that snap. You snap the ball way too early, and that turns the drive into now you got to throw. So that's where my frustration is. Like, honestly, we made so many mistakes that it's hard to blame this one specifically on the quarterback. If that's what you're interested in, this is not something that I'm going to blame on Deshaun Watson, at least. This is one that I'm going to blame on everybody that has to do with this, especially the on the field part of it, right? Just, you can't make those mistakes. You can't be holding when you know that you have a mobile quarterback back there who likes to break the pocket. Like, you just got to get comfortable with letting him go and then trying to shield the dude with your body. Like, that's what you have to do. That's what they do with Pat Mahomes. It's what they do with Lamar Jackson. Like, you have to understand who's behind you. He's not going to stay back there and try to make a throw with the 5th second in the pocket. Like, that's not how he operates. You just got to do what you got to do. Set a pick, right? So you can't get that holding call there. You can't miss that snap there if you're Nick Harris. If you're Amari Cooper, you can't drop that ball in that situation in the middle of the field when you're wide open and it turn into a turnover. And most importantly, if you're this Cleveland Browns defense, you have to show up in this moment. You have to play a better game than you did. I know some people are going to think it's unfair that I'm mad at the Browns defense when they only gave up 20 points, but they gave up 20 points to one of the worst offenses in football. And I'm sorry. We know that the defense is supposed to be the unit that carries this team. We know that the offense, especially after the last few weeks, has been slightly better than a liability at best. So we expect the defense to be able to overperform here. The defense cannot overperform. Should the offense be capable of scoring more than 20 points? Yeah, we've been saying it for 3 weeks, though. We know what this offense is right now. The defense should be able and capable of slowing down the Raiders' offense. So if I look at it, if I'm ranking the disappointment that I have in this game, I would say I'm most disappointed in the Browns defense. Jim Schwartz is right along with there. He continues to get beat the exact same way week after week and shows no signs of trying to make changes there. Also, whatever is happening with the on-field energy with this defense is just off. It's just off. It took until that improbable but it took until that improbable fumble touchdown score, Ronnie McLeod, to do that, until this defense had any tangible energy on the field. And I'm like, what's going on? This was the defense that had the most energy in the NFL last year. They are low on it, incredibly low on energy this year. This was one of the defenses that was able to stop a lot of that left to right, list those screens at them. They were able to be dominant against that kind of stuff. This was a defense that would be able to hold a Raiders team to maybe 10, maybe 3 points, but now they can't hold them past 20. It's kind of ridiculous. The Browns defense was so good last year, they were able to win games with PJ Walker and DTR. Deshaun Watson played better than PJ Walker in DTR. They could not win this game. This is an issue for the Browns. They got to figure out what's going on defense. They got to figure out what's going on with the energy of this defense. They got to go figure out what's going on with Jim Schwartz and what changes he wants to make to this defense. Because if it wasn't obvious last week, you need to do something. It's got to be obvious this week. Right? Maybe the last few weeks you've been able to hide under Watson being very bad at quarterback. Well, not the last few weeks, but the first and third week, you've been able to hide behind some bad performances from the quarterback kind of taking most of the attention. But that's not the case this week. The attention is on the defense for this one. DeJuan Jones is going to get a lot of noise about that one play he missed on that, a twist. They twisted on him, and he missed on the twist, and he missed a punch, and he looked awful in that play, and he's done that a couple of times this year. But to give credit to DeJuan Jones, I thought he battled back really aggressively in the third and fourth quarter of this game. So I thought DeJuan Jones kind of made up for it a little bit here. Amari Cooper almost made up for it, right? If that touchdown would have counted, and it didn't count for his fault. It was on Nick Harris that happened there. So the Browns, perpetually, offensively and defensively, and it wasn't consistently one person that was doing this, but consistently this Browns team got in the way of their own blessings. It felt like the universe wanted to give you this game, but we kept finding ways to take it away from ourselves. It's the second week in a row that it feels like the Browns have done this, and it's frustrating, right? We can't make the big play. We made the big play. We can't make the big play that puts us ahead. It's just a bit frustrating how this team is operated. Now they're 1-3. And look, this was a part of the schedule where we hoped the Browns could go 5-1 potentially, right? Now they're staring down the barrel of maybe getting out of this part of the schedule 3-3. And if you look at who the Browns play after that, right, after these first 6 games, it doesn't get any easier. You play the Commanders. They're good. They've been playing good football. You play the Eagles. They're not as good as we thought they were going to be. They've actually been playing some pretty similarly bad football as Cleveland. The Bengals, we'll see where they're at by this time, but I expect them to be back to normal. The Ravens, they'll probably be back to normal by then. The Chargers are still good. The Saints are coming back down to earth. The Steelers are still good. The Broncos are playing much better football. The Steelers again, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and then you play Miami and Baltimore. You don't got that much time to fix this shit if you're the Cleveland Browns, right? So you got to figure it out now. There has to be a stark difference next week, especially defensively with this team, because if you don't, whatever people who have not started to lose faith might start to lose faith here. Overall, it's really what I got to say about this game. It's just unfortunate that this team was not able to capitalize on the plentiful amount of opportunities that were available to them. And that continues to be frustrating. It's not that the Browns aren't getting chances to win here. I thought they had a chance to win late against Dallas. They didn't take the chance. New York, they had multiple chances to win. And in this game, I thought they had a lot of chances to win. They were given opportunities to win in this game, and they couldn't come out of it. And you got to figure this out, or else this is going to go from bad to worse if you're the Cleveland Browns. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Y'all have a great day. Having a better night. Peace.